It's official, folks. The votes are being calculated and tallied up, but it's pretty clear what's going on here, at least what we can expect to be going on here. But this should not be a moment of celebratory congratulations and throwing our hats in the air and confetti waving around and things like that. No, this is a moment to really consider the actual warning signs of what's going on in the world today, right here in the US of A, in our economy. This is a huge warning about the future of our economy and the potential pitfalls and further struggles that are going to be placed on U.S. American citizens as we continue on to fight through diesel shortages, price increases, inflation, price fixing, price gouging, higher interest rates, all seemingly so interconnected and intertwined with one another, with the sole purpose of basically crushing and collapsing families, financial budgets and savings and credit balances to the point of no return, while banks are going to capitalize on these opportunities and make hay on the rates and fees and interest that they're going to receive, which they may or may not have some interconnection with government and politics and lawmakers and folks that have control over interest rates and things like that. While businesses are having their costs, their inflationary costs somewhat covered, if not completely covered, while still charging more and more and more for the same goods and products and services that everyone needs on a daily basis, particularly being food. Now, the beauty of it is what possible global situation, maybe even national, localized situation can we manufacture so that we can justify the increase in price, or at least the postponement of a reduction in price? Oh, I know what it is. Let's say we're running out of diesel fuel. Great. I like that. I like that idea. We're running out of diesel fuel. So that way we can charge more for the fuel. That way we can charge more we're not running out of gas, folks. We're not running out of gasoline. Gasoline doesn't transport food and necessities and supplies to stores. Gasoline doesn't keep this country running. Diesel does. Diesel feeds America. Diesel runs the farming equipment. Diesel fuel is what allows businesses to operate. So let's say we're running out of diesel. That way we can charge more for it. We can put people in a panic. They're going to hurry up and buy before they run out, because if we don't have the diesel, then we can't get the products and food and things and such of that nature delivered. So they better hurry up and buy it now. Oh, wait, hang on. While we're at it, let's go ahead and jack up interest rates a little bit higher, because they're going to have to put this on a credit card. They're going to have to put this on a credit card because they don't have any money, because we're trying to tank the economy, remember? So let's jack up the interest rates so that we can continuously make more money on them in perpetuity in the future as they continuously struggle to try to pay off these debts. Excellent. I like that idea. But wait, there's more. What? What do you mean? Let's go ahead and put their jobs at risk. Let's make it so that they're in fear and they panic and they think that they're going to lose their jobs, so that their employers could pay them less, and these businesses can thus make more money, while we continue this cycle of getting what we want back, our control back, our dollars back, our ownership and equities back from the measly stimulus checks that we printed for the pandemic relief during COVID. Sounds like a great idea. Now, if you don't agree with this and you don't agree with what I'm saying, then that's perfectly fine. But if you don't agree and you have a rebuttal, please comment down below. I'd love to engage in the conversation and the debate with you about what is actually happening, what's going on, and what we should be planning for and anticipating coming down the pipeline in the future. And that future is tomorrow. That future is next week. That future is theoretically probably for the next 2 years, folks. Now, we do have a possibility of some change occurring in Washington, D.C., but again, we are years away from any sort of difference, or the idea and thought of a difference that could possibly position folks in this country along the path of survival versus the path that we're currently on, which is destruction, which is total annihilation, which is being wiped out. Tell your family to prepare, because they are not playing games, folks. They are not. No, literally, no one is safe. They would probably do this to their own mother if it meant that they were going to put more money in their pockets. Now, with that being said, I'm all for profiting. I'm all for financial growth. I'm all for building businesses and sustaining a lifestyle and not being broke, not struggling, not living paycheck to paycheck, not wondering where your next meal is going to come from, not risking homelessness because you can't pay your rent, not being unemployed and or having to rely on government aid and assistance, which is exactly what they want. If they can control you by way of feeding you, by giving you these scraps, these measly little dollars here and there, and claiming that they're trying to help you, then you'll keep them around. Versus if you decide that you learn and you tell yourself and you align yourself and you connect yourself with a network and a community and a family of folks out there that have proven that we don't really need them. We don't really need them to do what we're trying to do. We don't need them to succeed. We don't need them to pay us. We don't need them to hand us a few dollars of our own money at that we've paid taxes on, that they then wastefully spend and frivolously throw away and around to other countries and other endeavors and ridiculously funded projects that, yes, sure, it was slated for construction, but do they really need a wall around the Federal Reserve? Do they really need that right now? Perhaps maybe they do. Perhaps maybe they're aware. History often tends to repeat itself. So why not build a structure to keep the people out? Because they're going to be upset about what happens and they're going to want to come in. Let's do that. But at the end of the day, folks, this is a fight. This is a struggle. And you can either lay down and surrender, or you can join them, which obviously it's not going to get you anywhere. In my opinion, just being honest, it's not going to get you very far. It'll get you by, maybe at best. Folks living on government assistance, please comment below and let me know how great your life is, how financially secure you feel, how full your bellies are. But the flip side is double down, grind hard, push for your own profitable, successful businesses, start creating businesses, side hustles, passive income streams. This is going to be the difference in survival and ultimately collapse or being wiped out from the effects of what's going on in the world. This is not just the U.S. economy. This is not just United States recession, American recession, leading into the potential of likelihood being a deep recession, a depression, and or hyperinflation. So can you imagine moving forward from today to tomorrow to only have higher prices with a slowed economy, thus having an impact on your employment, your job, and your income and your savings, while we continue with this rhetoric and narrative of increased inflation? Why? Because why are we continuously pushing this? Why are we continuously using old, outdated numbers and trying to assess inflation and see where it falls? Why? Because we can. Because every time we do, we say inflation's still bad. So what does that do? That allows us to raise interest rates. Why? Because then that allows the banks to make more money on interest. That allows people to struggle more. That allows homeowners to want to sell these properties and let them go, so that the institutional buyers on the sideline that are waiting to scoop these up can come in and grab them, because the Federal Reserve has made it so that the banks are making it impossible for the average American to get a mortgage to get them. So it's like, how do we keep them out? Don't let them in. How do we keep them out of the housing game? How do we keep them out of real estate? How do we keep them out of one of the best wealth building tools known to man? Don't let them in. Don't let them in. Let's make the credit criteria more difficult, FICO 10T. Let's raise interest rates and make mortgage payments more expensive. Let's drive up the price of fuel. Let's drive up the price of everything across the board. Let's squeeze them out with high prices and inflation. Let's put their jobs at risk so that they are potentially not qualified through underwriting or scared to death of signing on the dotted line for 15, 30, maybe even 40 years on a mortgage, knowing that their job is at risk every single day. That's why, because they don't want you in. They're trying to keep you out, so they're not going to let you in. Now they've learned from their mistakes, perhaps, maybe this was all by design from day one, but I think that they realized that they gave too much power to the people. They put too much money in the hands and in the bank accounts of the people. They allowed folks too much ability through lower interest rates and saw this adverse negative reaction in the real estate market, in the auto industry, in business. Think about it. You go back to 2020 and people say, now is a terrible time to start a business. It's a recession. That's a whole nother video, a whole nother topic. If you guys want me to cover that, drop a comment down below. If there's enough interest, I'll go ahead and jump on it. But if you think about it, 2020, at the height of this, you got free money, you got paycheck protection, you got government SBA loans, you got low interest rates. And that was a time where people would jump in and take that and build big, okay? While others, unfortunately, didn't have the knowledge and they didn't have the education and they didn't have the network and the team and the community and the family to say, take this time, take this opportunity, take this money, a time in which folks were getting paid through unemployment insurance benefits to make more money to sit at home than to go to work. Folks, the smart ones, they were taking the checks, they were taking the unemployment, they were taking the loans, they were taking all this money, they were taking low interest rates, and they were building big. And more than likely, what they did was they took those assets and they turned them into cash flow producing assets at the height of this a few months ago when they sold at the top. We are no longer at the top, folks. We are on the decline, okay? They sold those assets to capitalize and realize the capital gains on those investments, okay? But they still are sitting on a boatload of cash. They're still sitting on a boatload of cash, and now they're using that cash to fund the next venture, the next step of this plan, their businesses that are now going to scoop up and grow. They're going to scoop up this low-hanging fruit that's about to expose itself from folks that can't afford it through bankruptcies and defaults and income reductions and layoffs and natural disasters, hurricanes, everything that's going to affect these folks. And then these people are going to come in, they're going to scoop this up, they're going to build out these businesses, and they're going to be even further at the top by utilizing the tools that were made available to them through the government, through government assistance programs, through the CARES Act, through low interest rates from the Federal Reserve. But that's a small percentage, really small percentage. The rest of them paid no attention. They took the checks, they went out, they spent them. They went and bought new Air Jordans. They went and bought some foam posits. They might have went and bought, some Louis Vuitton bags. They might have gone out and got their hair done, got their nails did. They probably went out and went to the club, bought up all the Hennessy. I think there was a shortage of Hennessy or something like that. And shortage of Hennessy, Nissan Altima sales were through the roof. And I think Popeyes was selling a whole lot of chicken. But the simple fact of the matter is most folks were not paying attention to what was actually going on and how they could have used these opportunities and situations and the positions they were in to capitalize on this growth opportunity, huge growth opportunity that they're now reaping the benefits of and not tied up in all that nonsense like car dealerships. See, the car dealerships, they played the game. And now they're about to see the effects of the game that they play because they're locked in. I'm talking about the movers and the shakers, the smart folks. They're very agile. They're very versatile. They're very fluid. The entrepreneurs that were not tied down and they weren't locked in and they were able to freely move about and put their money in the right places that's going to bring them back huge returns over the long haul, like literally in perpetuity, forever. And that's what I'm talking about. But if you're not in that, if you're not in that group, you're not in that circle, you're getting left out. And you're going to be sitting here with the Fed controlling your life, with the government controlling your life, with big businesses and corporations that are in on this. They're having these backdoor conversations together about how are we going to raise prices? How are we going to increase interest rates? How are we going to keep people out? How are we going to price folks out of the game? How are we going to keep our prices up together? We need to do this together, folks. And how can we spin it in a way where it doesn't look like we're actually doing it, because we don't want them to call us out. We don't want a revolt. We don't want the uprising. We want them to think that they really do need us. And we want them to think that we're really trying to help them. But at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is just basically screw them over and keep this ball rolling as long as we can, keep this party going, and not tip too many people off about what's really happening. Okay. Now, even still, you can overcome this, even if you weren't capitalizing on the opportunities that were available at that time. It doesn't mean that it's too late. It just means you may have to grind a little bit harder. You may have to work a little bit harder. You may have to be a little bit smarter. But the key is understanding that and identifying that and aligning yourself with the platforms and the networks and the communities that can help you do that, versus listening to mainstream media, versus listening to the headlines and only woe is me feeling victim to what's going on in the economy right now globally, with a new conflict and potential problem around every single corner, every single day. That is literally, what is it doing? Think about it. Think back on every recent news event that is happening. What is it doing? It is reducing your ability to earn money. It is reducing the spending power of the dollars you have. It is raising the national debt. It is sending money to other countries besides ours and the people who need it. It is increasing interest rates, making it harder to borrow, making it more expensive to borrow, when folks now are using the money that they got then to fund their operations at the low prices and low rates that they received, instead of worrying about what today's price is, because that's the big deal. And you think about it, this government, this administration, and it's not just this administration, but in general, for the folks that do rely on the government for funding, for SSI, for SSA, for SSDI, for EBT, food stamps, SNAP benefits, whatever it may be, Section 8 housing, you rely on them, and they tell you, oh, you've made $1 too much. You've lost your benefits. You've earned too much. Don't try to get ahead. You need to stay behind. Otherwise, you're going to lose your benefits. And we're not going to really help you out in between. Meanwhile, how many billions of dollars have we sent to other countries during this supposed conflict that we need to step in and back and support this country and protect them from the aggressor, while placing sanctions on them to try to prevent them from succeeding in their endeavors. Meanwhile, they're like, no, we still good. We still good. We got this. Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear, folks, because they're not telling you the truth. They're not telling you what you need to know. They don't want you to think. They don't want you to be better. They don't want you to improve to a point at which you can say, I can do this on my own. I don't need you guys. Y'all need to do what's right for us. Otherwise, we're going to get rid of you. They don't want you guys to do that. They don't want you guys to know that.